long does it take someone to become a Wall Street warrior?
Well, in my case, it took 24 years, so quite a while. But it's typically a pretty competitive industry. So a lot of people actually flame out pretty quickly. But I went from analyst to associate, vice president, senior vice president, and managing director by the time I was 33. So when I look at the timeline, I started in investment banking essentially at 19, and I was managing director by 33. And I think if you make a managing director, then you can officially call yourself a warrior. So I guess being very scientific about it, for me, it took about 13 years.
So what kind of mindset do you have to have, an understanding of numbers and how things change to even get into Wall Street?
Well, the interesting thing about Wall Street, which I think is actually very emblematic of a lot of industries, is that the skills and the mindset to get in the industry is actually quite different from the skills and mindset required to climb the corporate ladder. And it's also quite different from what's required to reach the top or the executive suite and stay at that level. So I think that if I were to talk about one common thread, I think if you're looking to become a warrior in whatever industry you're in, Silicon Valley, Hollywood, Madison Avenue, I think one of the underlying traits is flexibility. So being able to constantly morph and change and be aware of the changes and skills that are required. I would say that in Wall Street, I like to analogize, and I like to say that to get into Wall Street, you have to be good at checkers. To reach the top, you have to become a grandmaster at chess. And so they're both games, but the rules and the way you play and the opponents you play against are quite different.
And then you let us know all these tips and tricks and things in your book. Why is it important to grab right now?
Wall Street's actually very similar to many other industries, except for the competition is a lot more fierce. The people are a lot more hard-nosed. But I think that part of the reason why what I can teach applies to any industry is that Wall Street, in many ways, is kind of a crucible where a lot of the same tactics around rising the corporate ladder work even better in industries that are less competitive, that are less hard-nosed. And so when I decided to write my book, I made sure that it would be a book that my boys could use regardless of what industry they went into. Silicon Valley, Madison Avenue, law, medicine, Hollywood, whatever. And so I tried to write a book that is somewhat universal in the tactics. So I talk about, how to negotiate compensation, how to get promoted, how to make an impact in a meeting. These are all things that I think are very common across multiple industries. And I tried to dissect it in a level where I wrote a book and preached things that I wish someone had done for me.